around the outside into the inside of Hamady. They're so tight once again. It was racing. We'll be here racing across 3 different races, and unfortunately there's a couple of technical issues at the start of the broadcast, but hopefully we'll be underway well, and we'll be kicking things off in the Rookie Cup. Cam, this one's going to be an awful lot of fun, isn't it?
Certainly is. It's going to be the short sprint racing that we like, getting the community involved in this ranked championship as well. So obviously drivers of potentially different abilities getting involved, trying to improve themselves up these servers as the gold servers, so the top level servers in each of these races that we're going to be doing. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a nice action evening of racing, because the couple of weeks ago back at the Nürburgring we had some really great races.
Yeah, just to clarify, by the way, again, apologies for those audio issues at the start. This is a championship for the community, open to all, with multiple splits of racing. And this is the gold servers here on a Wednesday night. And we're expecting that kind of tight racing, a little bit of mayhem, but just so much fun. You know, we've done so many of these little events as solos, whether it's, the 2.4 hours of the Nürburgring, which we will talk about a little bit more, those races at Bathurst, and various other locations. We've done our solo little ones, and to have a championship where this is the focus, this community-driven style of storyline and stuff over a championship. There's a lot of fun out there. We love this style of racing.
We certainly do. It's going to really get everyone involved, and it's going to be obviously action-packed with the way that it works. Such short races means, especially on a lap like today at Spa-Francorchamps, there isn't actually going to be many laps per race, especially with this first one only being 15 minutes long. So you need to make your opportunities stick, and that means everyone's just going to be really aggressive.
Indeed. Well, as we can kind of understand what's going on, I think it's always important to explain to you what's going on, because there is 3 different races. We are in practice at the moment, of course, for the Rookie Cup. We'll be heading into a qualifying session for this, which is 8 minutes long, which, by the way, that is going to be a tough qualifying session. It's 8 minutes around here. When the session ends on the 8-minute mark, the session's over. And when it is such a long lap, around 2.5 minutes, well, you're only really going to get 1, 2 laps in. So that's going to be a really tough session into a 15-minute race for the Rookie Cup. Then we'll be going away for the GT4 Trophy, more the AM class. That'll be another qualifying session. That one's 10 minutes into a 20-minute race before we head to the Pro Series, the GT3s, for another 10-minute qualifying session, but back into a half-hour race, which, let's be honest, that's going to be so much fun. When you go to a circuit like this at Spa-Francorchamps, it is such a brilliant circuit. The reason why we still race here, despite it being 100 years old now.
Certainly, and it's changed a bit over the years. Different layouts, different corner styles. More recently with the final chicane about 15 years ago now being all changed, but the heart of it is still there, and it's still an amazing track for racing long straights, but also straights that aren't exactly straights, such as the one in the sort of the final sector coming through Blanchemont. You've got an amazingly fast kink that's nowhere near flat out in these cars that will be racing tonight, so really puts a lot of emphasis on the drivers to get it right, and it's still a bit of a challenge even all things considered.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, when we go racing around somewhere like Spa, it does give that vibe. Even though I'd still argue in sim racing, we probably race it a little bit too much, but this does still give that vibe of you are racing through history. It's brilliant. Of course, we started the season at the Nürburgring. We head to Spa, and then for the next couple of rounds after this, when you will have the return of Ewan O'Leary, you have to put up with Cam Roger all the way through the season, so there is that. We go to Zandvoort and then Watkins Glen, which Watkins Glen, when it comes to a racetrack, is so unbelievably open. I think what's important here is we've got 4 tracks rather. I can count, don't worry, don't trust the commentator's math, but still it is 4 tracks that are all completely different.
Indeed, and that's going to really show the versatility of some of these drivers to get up to speed in those various types of car. It's different challenge, especially Zandvoort next time out. Really, tight, a lot tighter track, a lot slower corners. Whereas you come to Spa, they're all long, open, fast corners. So yeah, really shows a bit of driver skill. In a 4-round championship as well, there isn't very long for you to be able to get to the front and get your points as well. So you need to be able to score high on all different types of circuits, and especially that one today, and then compared to the one in a couple of weeks' time, is certainly going to be a big challenge for the drivers.
Well, on screen at the moment, we've got Ilya Drovosekov, who is our championship leader after taking the victory at the previous round of the Nürburgring ahead of Enzo Guibert, who's obviously in second position championship, obviously racing here today also. But more of the man to beat is Drovosekov, who's done his fair share of ranked racing. We've kind of seen him in basically anything of the ranked racing variety when it comes to the gold server races that we typically broadcast. We get to see a little look around this circuit of Spa, focusing on the Swiss driver, and we can kind of get a vibe that in this car you've got so much time to think about everything, because it's not the fastest car known to mankind, and so you've got all of that time to almost overthink the next corner.
Absolutely, and especially the fact that if you're on a good lap, you're going to be, really keen to keep doing that. But you can always make a mistake, especially if you're, thinking, sort of overthinking the situation, trying to, really push the limits. If you get really nervous into those braking zones, especially that final chicane, you've got such a long run before the final braking zone that you can start to lose time from that. But you can see even in these cars, the M235i's getting to pretty much 230 k's an hour top gear, 6th gear in these cars before coming down into the Les Combes chicane. It's a lot of time to spot your braking zone, but also a lot of time to then miss your braking zone.
I am surprised that they aren't. I kind of get it why it's only an 8-minute session, so there isn't enough time to really mess about too much. But we're not seeing anyone trying to slipstream off of anyone, or really Drovosekov, I mean, obviously anyone. We're really focused on Drovosekov here. We'll go through the corner with no name. He's out there and just gone, right, do you know what? I'm not going to try and slipstream. I just want to do a lap by myself away from everyone else. I think Mihai Neg was the driver that was directly behind on the end of the lap. But I kind of like the strategy of, if you could do a quick lap, you could do a quick lap. There's no need to mess about too much. You don't need to qualify on pole around here, certainly not in the Rookie Cup. Going into Fania, into Piff Paff, into Campus, whatever you want to call it, over the right, through the left, you can take quite a bit of curbing. There's almost like a touring car-esque style of driving, then into what is actually campus, sorry, and then out towards Stavolo. And from this point on, you're not pinned in a car like this all the way through to the final chicane, but you are going very, very quick. That might have been a bit too much on the runoff, though.
Yeah, he's obviously getting the purple first sectors, being really the first guy to set the fast sectors indeed. And it's not an easy one in a car like this because it has such low power compared to the type of track that we're racing on. The momentum really counts, and taking it onto the straights, if you can carry that extra 1 kilometer of even corner speed coming out of that corner Stavlo out onto that back straight, it just snowballs down the start finish straight. And as he comes around the final corner, we're really going to see the potential pace advantage that he has, because he quite comfortably got pole 2 weeks ago.
Well, let's see. Drovosekov then crosses the line, set at 2:35.3. Decent lap time. Little bit slower than they were running in practice, if memory serves. I think they just got into the lower 35s or even into the 30s. But anyway, nice way to start the session. And like you say, yes, you might well not be taking the advantage of the slipstream, which I think is extreme in a car like this, but you're just getting out there and setting a lap by yourself where it's as quick as you can go. Here's Fachet, who's driving at the moment, who's not finished, didn't go too well at the Nürburgring, 11th in the standings at the moment, but I don't think it's too bad. Obviously, starting the season with a top 10 is always the ideal way, but 11th place is only one below. It could be worse.
Yes, it certainly could, and the way that the point system works as well, that's obviously keeping him nicely up there towards the top part, in their 14th place at the moment for him. So hopefully he'll be able to improve. And as we see with Spa, obviously the gaps just naturally get increased a little bit. So 2.5 seconds at the moment is the field spread, but I'm sure you'll see that come down a little bit. But as I said, because of the longer nature of the track, there might be some slight bigger gaps between a few of the drivers.
Well, got a little bit of slipstream assistance here for the driver that's currently second in the championship pin, Enzo Gabert, who is behind Christian Orban at the moment. It's not quite close enough to take a real advantage, a real tow around here, but for the driver that is, like I said, second in the championship, that really is competing, is the one taking the challenge to Drovosekov. I kind of feel that you take any advantage that you can get, and when you're 1.1 seconds off of the pole as well, that's a pretty hefty margin to your championship rival.
Yeah, certainly is, and every kilometre counts in a straight line this as well. So any advantage that you can get is really going to be helping that. And you spend so much time on the straights here as well, just because of the nature of the track. So I'm sure he'll be getting that tiny bit of an advantage as he goes purple in the first sector, but losing a bit of time in that second sector.
Losing out an enormous amount of time in that sector. Now, of course, we're running up to the end of the session. There is still 30 seconds left to go, so times will count from this point. You can see the order at the moment. They will be lining up on the grid. We'll go through this on pages of 12, but at the moment they are just coming into the final sector now. The time is ticking down. They've got 10 seconds to cross the line, so these laps will all count. Can Gabert get himself anywhere up the order from 5th place at the moment? The answer is yes. Does manage to get himself up into 3rd place. So Ilya Drovosekov will start from pole. Mihai Neg alongside, just ahead of the Romanian of Parvan, but Gabert getting himself up into 3rd position. Haseyman in 5th, with Kramers in 6th. Christian Orban giving out that slipstream to Enzo Gabert will start from 7th, with Lopez in 8th. Catalan in 9th place, and then Van Scheppen in 10th, with Guides and Pukalainen starting from 12th position. This is going to be a bit of a frantic race. I think definitely more so on that first lap. That first run, it's 2 kilometres from the exit of La Source all the way to Lake Holm.
I expect a 3-wide situation somewhere down the line. I expect in this field, as you mentioned, they've obviously got a decent amount of a run there up towards Lake Holm, and I'm sure people are going to be going for a bit of a dive. Only a 15-minute race for these guys as well, so they need to be getting through that as quickly as possible. It's only going to be sort of 7-8 laps for them, so they really need to be making those opportunities when they get them.
It's a 15-minute race. This is not a long one, but of course we have 3 races to go through this evening. It's going to be an awful lot of fun, and Drovosekov is going to be starting from the pole. Mihai Neg alongside on that front row of the grid as we start our charge. 200 metres down to La Source. Lights are on. And we are underway at Spa in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship of 2022 for round 2 of the season. Mihai Neg with a decent launches alongside in the braking zone is a source. Look at Parvin straight down the inside, all the way around the outside of that is Guibert side by side for the race lead, running down the hill towards, of course, the infamous Eau Rouge. Mihai Neg is not going to give this up. Jovasekov with the outside line. They're going to go side by side. Guibert also trying to think his way through. It is going to be Jovasekov, the Swiss driver, leading up from Mihai Neg, from Guibert, from Parvin, from Kramer's the top 5.
And this is some great slipstream. Let's see who is going to come out on top. How important is this slipstream? Always a bit of bum drafting there, literally touching each other, pushing each other down towards the start of the end of this straight, I should say. Side by side towards the braking zone. Guibert on the outside. Is he going to be able to outbrake himself? Or no, he's just going to have to hold it in, just pulling it in there. Not quite enough as a car goes straight across the chicane.
Christian Orban gone straight on there, so a bit of a ascend as I think Lopez was trying to get around the outside of Hussein in 6th position at the moment, and then it is the defensive line from the South African running down into Ravage. A little bit deep from Mihai Neg, who picks up the second apex at Ravage down towards corner with No Name. Already a 7/10 advantage from Ilya Drovasekov though. They've got to get into that slipstream straight out over the curb. You can use an awful lot of that on the run out, and look at that, a bit of side by side in the background as well. I think that might have been Boto and Chris Roos, or Roos rather, in 18th, 19th. We're going to see side by side up and down the order, I think, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think this pack is going to really spread out too much over the course of the race because of that slipstream, keeping them in as we get on towards these long straights, as we say. But look at this, side by side, quite a few rows deep, through into the fan chicane. We've got Pointo there on the outside. That's going to then turn into the inside of the second part. He's going to be keeping that position there in 14th place. So great maneuver there, and he's going to be really happy with that. But now he needs to try and get on the back of the car ahead of it.
Dollimore into the barrier in the background. That was the car that was basically becoming to a bit of a stationary halt into the barrier, managing actually to get back onto the track behind Bibaloni. But either way, there's been a bit of drama. Balash Vala retiring from the race, I believe, if not definitely coming to a stop. So there's a bit of drama further down. But as we focus our attention up towards the front as we complete the first lap here at Spa, Drovasekov, Mihai Neg and Guibert, the top 3. Big Sendo straight down the inside. That was a big move from Daniel Parvin, not able to make it stick. Guibert's going to lose an awful lot of time to the tune of about 0.6 of a second as we complete the first lap. And you can tell a little bit of a weave there. He was not happy.
Yeah, because he just loses a few car links to the cars ahead as well. So this isn't good as he goes for it again towards turn number 1, or at least thinking about it, down the side of La Source there. And that maybe just trying to put him off as we go onto this straight, because this is really where the slipstream is going to be coming. But Kremer's there behind him, that 5th place. He's bump drafting him down towards Eau Rouge and Radion as well. So this could be quite an important move as we get up onto the straight.
Yellow flag out in sector 1. That'll definitely be down at La Source on the second lap here. But you're absolutely right for Kramers. Did not want to take it side by side with Parvin, but now back into the slipstream was maybe a little bit too close, running through Eau Rouge and Radion over the top onto the Kemmel straight. It's about 1 kilometre from the Kemmel curve all the way down to La Source, and that is where Kramers is going to use his nose to look down the inside of Parvin. Doesn't make that one stick, as there's plenty of side by side. Pukalainen, Punto and Peugeot all going very, very close. 11th, 12th, 13th. I mean, look at how close the sector times are from basically 11th. This entire pack. Oh, a little bit dicey there on the exit of the corner. That was Pronto, I think, being pushed off a little bit by Pukalainen running down the hill. Peugeot straight down the inside of Pukalainen as well, as they'll all battle it out a Ravage.
God, they're still staying side by side as we come in towards this no-name corner, and looks like just behind them, Pukalainen's going to hold on to that 13th place. But actually, I think Morbius there just diving it down the inside as well, picking up a position, so being really opportunistic there. But these guys still fighting side by side for multiple positions here, even on the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Morbius keeping Guides behind. Christian Orban straight down the inside. Of course, Orban's on a bit of a recovery drive here, the Hungarian at the moment, as he's trying to march his way back up after skipping the chicane at Les Combes on the first lap, and obviously would have received a pretty hefty slowdown. If there's one lap that you don't want to get a slowdown, it is on the first lap, because your slowdown will take it as a reference from your fast laps. And so at the first lap of the race, you've not had any reference, so it's basically just like, basically you're coming to a stop, mate. But that is how it goes, and it's all a bit of a learning process, is why it is, in a sense, the Rookie Cup, even though there's plenty of very experienced drivers on this grid. But we do expect the odd little mistake on lap 1 in a pack so tight.
Yeah, they're just driving so close together as we're seeing this once again coming through Blanchimont. The driver's so close, they're all going a bit wide there as we're going to be getting, I think, a bit of a dive here down towards the final chicane, at least thinking about it. Yes, we are down the inside, and that car's gone way too deep. It's Morbius going way too deep, I think, into the final chicane, and he still hasn't come back. He's gone, whoa, yeah, I'm to reverse, so that is how much he missed the corner by.
Yeah, I mean, racing cars well known for having almost zero lock, and so yeah, it kind of makes sense that it would take a little while to recover. The only drivers that he's still ahead of is Chris Rose and Balazs Vala, who are battling out 23rd, 24th, the two not having a particularly good start to the race, and I think Chris Rose has had a further issue as well. This is 13th position that we're watching the battle on, Pukalainen and Guidez, as they'll head their way down to, of course, Eau Rouge. They use an awful lot of curb there. We won't see that. Might see it in GT4s using a bit of that curb, but in GT3s certainly not. You can't really afford to use that much curb, Eau Rouge and then up towards Radiol.
Yeah, the car's just way stiffer. Don't have the ability to do that, as it needs to be there for the aero platform as you're going side by side into their chicane, and Pukalainen's going holding on to that one, but no, he's not, because he goes too wide. Almost makes contact on the rejoin. Has he been able to survive the further cars coming? I think he just about has, but that was a big moment for him, and certainly lucky to come out in a good place.
Yeah, the Bulgarian of Taylor Ivanov managed to get past, as did Bozo. So Pukalainen's dropped back now to 17th, just ahead of Christian Orban. There is Guidez, who's kind of a bit now on his own. I think it might be some of the biggest gaps we've got on the grid. 2.2 ahead, 1 second behind to Burkhardt. So it's actually looking pretty decent suddenly for Guidez. There's Christian Orban, 18th position, not been able to make really any progress after straight lining that chicane.
Yeah, it's not what you want to be doing. I mean, you're saying as well, the first lap is certainly the time that you don't want to go off, but also here, the cars are just so close together. If you go off, you're losing 3, 4, 5 positions, and it is going to be quite difficult to come back from that necessarily. But we are still sort of halfway into this race now, and there is Drovosekov just leading the way, not by a huge amount, but still enough for him to be a little bit comfortable.
Yeah, well, yeah, the first couple of laps where Guibert was getting a little bit, well, the first lap really, where Guibert was trying to make a move on Mihai Neg, and then Parvin obviously tried that quite illustrious dive, shall we say, down the inside into this corner at the bus stop. It just allowed Drovosekov to build that gap, and most importantly, above all else, break the slipstream. That was the critical thing, completing the third lap of the race, and you can tell that we are over halfway through this race, which is pretty mad. It's obviously flying by. Just 15 minutes we started the race with, and now we've got 7 minutes left, so you're absolutely right. It's going to be a 3 more laps from this point, so a 6-lap race around Spa-Francorchamps. Rose being the only retirement from this race, everyone else managing to keep it out on circuit, which is pretty mad in race cars like this.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a few little ding-dongs going on up and down the field, so that's good to see that. In general, actually, the field is staying pretty close together, at least in these little packs that are forming up and down the field, which is nice to see, that the battle is going to keep on going as we get towards the final part, the final closing parts of this race. And we're seeing already into the top 5, top 6, we're getting some slipstream battles, and even just ahead we get a bit of side-by-side. Guibert here on 3rd place, and actually they're Nej holding on to that 2nd place, but Guibert trying to getting up into 2nd, not enough at the moment though.
Yeah, Mihai Neg at the moment, 2nd position right now, of course. Guibert, who is at the moment 2nd in the championship. Of course, there are championships, that's why it's a championship. It's called the RaceRoom Ranked Championship. There are titles up for grabs in all 3 of the categories racing today. We're only on round 2 though, so I know it's obviously getting a bit too ahead of ourselves speaking of the championship, but still, anyone who's heard my commentary knows that I like speaking of the championship way too early. Mihai Neg, though, started the season with just a 7th place back in the Nürburgring, so getting onto the podium for the 2nd round of the season, not a bad way to continue form.
Absolutely, and it's not just the standings that they're fighting for directly, but also a trophy as well. The top 3 in the championships get trophies, which is great because you don't always get a physical item in the sim racing prizes. I know there are some out there, but it's still not necessarily the most common thing in the world. So to get a physical trophy that you can put on your shelf is a really nice prize for just for 4 races.
For sure. I mean, if I were on camera right now, I would pull out my RaceRoom trophy because I won one a few years ago. Just say I didn't win it, by the way. I had 2 very strong teammates teammates and I cost them the win, but we still got third, so that's fine. That's the important bit. But it sits on my shelf, thus showing that it is really important to these drivers to get out there. And with it being a community-driven championship, you yourselves can come and take part by opening up RaceRoom and getting qualified for the next round when we go racing at Zandvoort over on the dunes, which will be a fantastic round as well in these kind of cars. That racetrack. I know some people will be like, yeah, and F1 cars and whatnot, it's really boring. It's like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is. In cars like this, though, it is anything but. And I recommend highly that you go and take part, as well as getting ready for the 2.4 hours of Nürburgring, which is on Friday, and you can still qualify for that. We'll talk a little bit more about it after this race, but Mihai Neg keeping Gilbert at bay, Parvin and Kramers, and of course Hussein all going very, very tight. Hussein right up against the barrier.
Oh no, do not go side by side. This is getting very close between these guys. Side by side into Eau Rouge through Radion, and somehow they have come out alive with that. Kremers holding on to that one in the end. Huisman, I thought he was going to be getting both of them, but in the end, he's actually might be losing a position here. He had to lift out so much that Lopez now, the Argentinian driver, is coming to his outside.
I mean, yeah, that was a fantastic bit to see any form of side-by-side through Eau Rouge. That was brilliant. And now Hussein, you're absolutely right, has lost out to Emmanuel Lopez, who he was battling with earlier on. The two of those are about a second and a half off the back of the likes of Kramers and Parvin, and they've managed to close that gap back in, courtesy of some of the more heavy battling here. But now, as we'll see them grow on 2 laps to go, the likelihood of even maybe Pointeur or Catalan joining this battle is actually not out of the question. You know, it's tyres not really too much of a talking point in a race. It's too short to really discuss the tyres to any form of majority, but it's more so that battling around here in cars like this loses you a whole heap of time. And so if there is an intensity to that battle, then we're going to see those gaps really, really close up as the yellow flag has come out in the second sector. Not sure as to who that is for, though.
Yeah, haven't seen anyone off, but I guess someone has unfortunately just been off the track in some way, which is not to be unexpected because of the way that these guys are batting. As we're getting a little bit of a dive, think about a dive from De Scheppen there into the final chicane. Oh, just a bit too much on the curb, though. That might actually work out well, give him a bit of the switcheroo coming towards this really important right-handed corner as we go out onto the back straight. Still thinking about it on the outside, but I think he's going to have to pull into the slipstream.
I think it's more the defensive line that Guides just took there might open the opportunity to Van Scheppen to make a move into the bus, because it's going to be so much slower around this section of the track all the way down to really Blanchimont. That's where you can really pick up speed once again in this car, because you do have to think about it. It's not like it's a completely flat out corner in a car like this. You do have to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding as to what's going to happen with the car. Back up to the battle between Emmanuel Lopez and Hussein going straight around the outside. Oh, great little battle between the two of them. They remain side by side. Now the advantage should be to Lopez holding that outside line through the bus stop, heading onto the final lap of the race here in the Rookie Cup.
Yeah, getting close into Les Sources. Let's see how he's going to do this one. He's surely going to be, oh no, holding it round the outside. We saw him on the last lap going side by side up towards Eau Rouge. I thought he was going to put it into the slipstream, but no, he's going to hold it there side by side down the hill towards the very, very fast chicane that goes all the way up the hill. And no, he's going to have to back into this one. So let's see how close he can stay up the hill. He lost a lot of momentum here on the last lap. But this time around, he's staying a little bit closer, but in general, just I think maybe a car length too far away.
Emmanuel Lopez took a lot more curb going through the second part there on the right-hand side as they started heading up the hill towards Radion. It might have slowed him down a little bit, but seems to have kept the speed, obviously filling up the mirrors at the moment. Hussein was giving it a good look, backed out of it just ever so slightly. So Lopez is going to hang on to 6th position at the moment. It's a 3-second lead to your race leader. Then in about a second and a bit back to Gilbert from Mihai Neg. So the gaps are quite big at the front. This is the tightest battle at the moment, with the exception of maybe Parvin and Kramers just a little bit ahead. But this is where it really is. They've shown such good adaptability in this race, and there is Hussein looking straight down the inside into corner with no name.
God, he's looking at every single apex so far. That was a bit of a slower run, though, by Lopez as you come all the way down to Pool 1. Is that going to be a dive? Huisman thinking about it. Not quite in this corner, but I think he's got the ability to get past. Just needs to find the right place for him to do that so far. He hasn't quite been able to get that position back from Lopez. They have been dropped by the car's head by a good 2 seconds from Kramers as well. So this battling is sort of forcing them to really just fight out for the 6th position at the moment. But Heutemann, can he stay close enough this time around to get a run towards Blanchimont?
Yeah, and this is really coming into the final opportunities. The timer has ticked down to 0. There is no further action happening up towards the front. There is only one real final opportunity for Heutemann to come through at the front of the grid, though, who's come already through Blanchimont. Ilya Drovasekov into the braking zone. A dominant race, took pole position by a very comfortable 4/10 margin. And for Ballas Esports, Drovasekov's going to depart the final corner at the bus stop chicane and come across the line as yet another winner in the Rookie Cup, won at the Nürburgring and now wins at Spa. Mihai Neger-Gibert behind in 2nd and 3rd. The action though, Parvin's had an issue. The Romanian is dropping down the order. He's gone straight on through the bus stop. Kramers is going to come across the line in 4th. Lopez hangs on, but only just by a 1/10 of a second from Heutemann. Corentin Pointeau and then Parvin. So Parvin had an issue on that final lap, drops him from 5th all the way down to 8th.
I wonder if there's a bit of contact there, as another car in the background actually has gone off at that final corner as well. So I think just maybe a dive here or there into that final corner has caused that, because Parvin was battling, he's ahead and battling, just a few tenths really. Kramers was behind. I wonder if there was a huge send there into the final braking zone.
Yeah, I mean, a great little race. A little bit disappointed that Drovasekov was able to pull away by that much, but it just shows how fast Drovasekov is in the ranked racing here. There's Rose across the lines. We didn't actually retire, did manage to get back out onto the race circuit, and so we do have 24 drivers and 24 finishers. Of course, Drovasekov taking that victory in the fastest lap of the race with Mihai Neg and Enzo Gibert in 3rd position. Then Kramers and Lopez, Heutemann, Pointeau, Parvin, Catalan and Peugeot inside the top 10. A little bit disappointing from him after a great first round of the season. Fachet and then Guides, Van Scheppen, Bozo, Burkhardt, Dollimore after those issues very, very early on in the race, being sent off into the barrier going down to campus. He finished ahead of Pekalainen, Bibaloni and then Orban, Mobius in 20th with 4 other finishers in the form of Loken, Ivanov, which is a bit of a shame for Ivanov because he was actually marching his way up the order and ended up not too far away from the top 10. Still finished 1 position above his starting position, then Vala and Rose, the finishing order. But a great little battle, and Drovasekov, your winner again.
Yeah, looking pretty nice. Obviously going to just increase his championship lead to a part, obviously, after this is already halfway through the season, having done 2 of the 4 races. So that's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to lose that as we get towards the final couple of races. But for sure, the gaps behind them are going to be so close.
Well, next race, I was going to speak next round. We're not that far ahead of ourselves yet. Of course, we go racing in the GT4 Trophy. Whilst the Rookie Cup is just the single car in the BMW M235i, we get to see multiple cars of racing in the AM class, the GT4 Trophy. This is where things get a bit more interesting.
Certainly is. The GT4 has produced a really nice race last time around as well. So certainly, something that we're going to be looking forward to in these, on this bigger track. I was driving the cars sort of a couple of weeks ago before we got to the Nürburgring. Really fun cars, and yeah, I'm really actually looking forward to see how this one goes, because the GT4s is a sort of a bit of an oddball category sometimes, but it seems to be working out pretty well now.
Well, we've got kind of best to speak of some of the cars and the BOPs as to what's gone on. The KTM Crossbow is the only car without any form of BOP. It's still running at 100% power with 0 ballast, and still I don't think it'll be the preferred choice to most. It's a little bit of a tricky beast to drive. Most of the cars, or all of the other cars, so the Audi R8, the BMW M4 GT4, Mercedes-AMG GT4, Porsche 718 and Porsche 981 Caymans, all have 99% power, so they've had a little bit of a restrictor. The Lotus Evora has had a further percentage increase on that, or decrease rather, an extra bit on the restrictor, so it's 98% of its power, and also has the heaviest ballast at 25 kilos, 20 kilos for the Mercedes, 10 kilos for the Audi, for the BMW and the Porsche 718, and then the Porsche 981 receives 5 kilos of ballast. That is a lot of waffle, and so, you know, don't worry, I won't speak about it too much. You wait till we get to the GT3s and we have lots of different cars to speak of the ballast on, but either way, we can just speak about the pretty shapes that the cars make and the sounds they make around the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the BOP is sort of a rolling thing to try and make them, you know, the cars as close as possible. There were, even though, as you say, the Evora has the sort of the most restricted engine, but also the most weight ballast as well, it was still also the most chosen car, especially towards the front of the field in Nürburgring as well. So I wonder how the split will lie when we get out onto the race today as well.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I think to also update you as to what happened last round in this, it was a victory from Alexander Grunwald, Enzo Filipao in second position, and then Cernau in third. And now just get themselves underway, and also to remind you, it's a 10-minute qualifying session in this, going into a 20-minute race. So it's a bit of a longer format here in this, as you would kind of expect. We're moving through 3 different categories, and we're getting bigger and bigger as we go, and so there is a bit more restrictions as how to get into this race in the GT4 Trophy, and also a bit of a longer race and a much faster car in comparison to the BMW M235i.
Yeah, it's a bit of obviously a step up towards the GT3, and obviously a lot of the cars are actually, you know, they're sort of a slower variant of their GT3 faster brother as well. You see with obviously the Audi, the Mercedes, the BMW as well, all obviously you know, brothers of the other manufacturers. But you see the cars here now on their outlap. As they say, 10-minute qualifying sessions. They've already had a minute to go as they're coming round to start their laps, and the cars seemingly a lot closer here. Maybe the slipstream is going to be a bigger factor for these guys.
I think so. Obviously, you know, in a sense, the faster you go, the more of a hole in the air you punch, and so realistically speaking, you kind of want to you want to punch a big hole. At the moment, though, for Grunwald, who is doing exactly the same, it seems, as to what his teammate did in the previous race. Ilya Drovosekov just drove around in solo formation, didn't go around anyone else throughout the entirety of the session, still got pole. And Alexander Grunwald in the Lotus Evora is doing exactly that, just basically in a bit of space by themselves. We're on board. I'm not actually sure who it was. I was going to say it was Chris Williams, but I don't actually think it is. But at the moment, either way, driving around behind one of those KTM crossbows, which I do really like the KTM crossbow.
Yes, it looks cool. It looks sort of more futuristic. I believe that's Lee Taylor, who's the only one on the field, if I'm not mistaken.
Villacravy.
So, yeah, that's looking pretty good, nice.
It's Villacravy behind Lee Taylor. You're absolutely right. We're good at this.
Oh yeah, just spotting it out. But the cool thing with the that I like with the crossbow is obviously it's sort of like a body kit on top of what the actual normal crossbow looks like as well. So they've sort of obviously made it into more of a, you know, a race car for that one, and it's great to see a manufacturer doing that rather than obviously just taking, you know, the standard road car. Although having said that, Taylor, they're way too deep, and that is going to slow down the start of his lap.
Does kind of feel like the Radical GT3, which definitely doesn't exist. This does exist though, so that is you know, where it doesn't go on. Yeah. But the Radical GT3, which we do know of elsewhere in sim racing, which is just pretty mad. Like the Radical and GT3 are two words that probably shouldn't really go together. But KTM Crossbow and GT4 is something which definitely does go together. And once again, we'll see our way around Spa. We've already ticked off 3 minutes of this session, and just to remind you, if you weren't here earlier or you've never seen any of the race room action in qualifying, once we tick to 0 in the session is done. You do not get to finish your laps. It is intense out there. They're really only going to get 2 timed laps onto the board. And that just makes it all important. Yeah, might sink third if they're quick, but they just need to get their laps in then. You don't have you know, the laps to really you know, make a mistake, get into the rhythm. You just have to go out and be quick, and that can always shake up the order a bit, which is always what we like to see as well, because it really, you know, it comes down to the drivers to really just come out and perform. On board with Villacravy, Of course, the teammate of Alexander Grunwald, the championship points leader at the moment, and you can see the slight differences as to what's being used curb-wise. You can see in the BMW M235i, they were using basically all of the curb everywhere. In the GT4s, you have to pick and choose which ones you know you can attack. There are some which are slightly flatter. Example, on the runoff there going through Puon, you can use a lot of that curb there because it's not really raised, it's not serrated, it's basically just a patent bit of concrete that you can kind of run out and abuse. Here, you can use the first one. The second one you typically more so avoid because it is quite a height it throws you up, and it will push the car into more of an understeery state, which you will also get around here. You've got to be a little bit more careful with how you attack these curbs.
And you want to get every kilometre an hour you can coming out onto this back straight up towards Blanchemont. Obviously got a couple of purple sectors right now as everyone's setting their lap times. We'll have to see if that's actually going to turn into a purple sector when we get towards the finish line, as the laps are going to be coming in. A lot of steering lot there through Blanchemont trying to keep in, but that's a curb, as you say, on the exit you can really use in pretty much any car before coming towards this final braking zone. Such a difficult one to spot, really, because you know, has that sort of elevation change in the middle. You can't really see exactly where you're going as you come out then onto the final corner. It's quite a bit of a long run actually towards the line, all the way down to the grid boxes before we see what lap times we are setting, and at the moment he's going into third place.
Yeah, 2 minutes 30.3, the time that Alexander Grunwald has set in that Lotus Evora. And of course, your championship leader continuing on in that form ahead of the driver that finished runner-up to him in the previous round, Enzo Filipao. Of course, in that previous round of the season at the Nürburgring, we had the opener of the championship, and you can see, well, we look at Grunwald. Guess who's directly behind him? Yeah, absolutely. That's Enzo Filipao. So they're both doing the same thing. They are sat by themselves. They're doing their own thing. Lapanik now goes up into third, and Zabdir up into fourth.
And seeing how little laps they're doing, this is probably the best way of doing it. No distractions, nothing else to think about. Just getting on with your own, your own driving, and trying to make it work. Bit of a slide there coming through the no-name corner. Hopefully that's taking speed, but certainly a lot cleaner for Filippo behind him.
Yeah, and kind of, I guess if you were Filippo, you want it to be a little bit closer than where you're currently running. But either way, the reference at the moment, as far as I can see, Filippo is actually improving in that first sector. So he's closing in on Grunwald. I think this is going to be a pretty tight battle between these two for that pole, and we do hope that it continues on in the race as well. Ilya Drovosekov was able to pull away a healthy margin in the early stages of the previous race. In cars like this, I think the likelihood of that is certainly lower. What does Grunwald do over the second sector split, though? We head out of Stavelot and out towards Blanchemont through Curve Paul Frere. Second sector not looking so good. For Enzo Filippo, though, I think it is looking much, much better in that car behind.
Yeah, he actually does look visually maybe a tiny bit closer. So I guess he's gained a few tenths on the lap that Grunwald is doing. Yeah. And yes, he has. Look at that, half a second up at the second sector split. Purple in the first two. Loads of curb there through Blanchemont. Hopefully it hasn't slowed him down too much as he comes towards the final braking zone. And this looks like it's going to be a good lap.
And this could be actually their last laps of the session, because it's, again, once it hits zero, then the session is done, which means they've left the final corner with 2 minutes 30 on the clock. Grunwald has already pulled off. Is it going to be pole position for Enzo Filippo for Virtual Drivers by TX3? Yes, it is. Up onto the front row, up into P1, a 229.782 from Enzo Filippo might well give him pole position.
Certainly a huge gap, 0.6 to second place, 1.3 seconds to Lapanik, currently in that third position. As you say, these are the final laps for these drivers already coming in as we're looking at Zabdir towards the final chicane, getting a nice bit of a slipstream there. Yellow in sector one, some drivers trying to complete that part of the lap, and the car ahead of him actually having an awful run there through the final corner. Might be Thomas Martin as we come towards the line. A huge slipstream there for Zabdir in fifth place. Can he improve that? And he does. No, he's just going to stay in that fifth place.
Yeah, 31.2, the time there for Zabdir, which is pretty much exactly what he'd already set. Here's Martin in ninth position right now, and you can see by the tower, basically everyone is back in the pit lane with 1 minute and 20 left to go in this session. We still have a few up here, but as much as Martin is on a lap, this lap will not count. They won't be able to finish it right now. Of course, same with Ian Pfeiffer, with Sandstrom, with Field Shifter. They're all at the wrong point of the lap to get round and complete, which tells me we are actually done with this session. They're just out there setting whatever laps they can just to give them a little confidence boost going in. But I think Filipao definitely has this pole.
I think he does, looking at it, so fair play, because look at the gaps. It's pretty close actually behind it, so the lower parts of the top 10, but just him and Grimvald starting to really pull away as we have Deke here coming out of the final corner in 22nd place at the moment, a little bit off the pace as such, but let's see if he's been able to improve. No, I think he stayed where he actually jumped up to P20. I was wrong there, 2 places he gained.
Well, whilst the lap time still can come in, there's only 20 seconds left of the session, we'll look at our grid. And Filipao jumping up onto pole position with that final lap of the session. Grunwald and Lapanik with Cernau up in 4th, who actually was a bit of an improvement late on. Lapanik also having an improvement late on. Zabdir in 5th alongside Pfeiffer in that 6th position. Another one of the Ballas Esports driver in Cravey alongside the lone KTM in Lee Taylor. Then Martin and then Pavlicek. And then Sandstrom and Ornelas in 12th. And of course, there is a second page as we have 24 drivers going into action here in the GT4 Trophy, the AM category in the gold servers. And also to kind of remind you again that we do have silver and bronze servers as well. We do have plenty of racing happening here on this Wednesday afternoon. But we had a little bit of I'd say it was a fairly calm start to the race. We did have Christian Orban going obviously straight over at Les Combes. I wonder what we're going to get in this one, Cam.
Well, let's see. Obviously, some faster cars, some frantic action, but they are obviously the AM drivers, so they have a little bit higher rating and reputation. So hopefully, obviously pushing each other to the limit, but safely within the track. Let's see how that one works out. I think it's going to be a great race, though. Obviously, slightly longer as well, 5 minutes longer, 20-minute race that they will have. And when we get to it, it's going to be certainly exciting to see who can come out on top.
Well, Grunwald won in the GT4 Trophy back in the previous round at the Nürburgring. Can he make it 2, as Ilya Drovasekov has, or will Enzo Filipao have something to say about it, as he will start this race from pole position and will be the first one to launch his way up into Le Source. Enzo Filipao then alongside Grunwald on that front row of the grid in a Lotus Evora front row lockout as we get ready to go underway once again at the GT4 Trophy here at Spa. The racing begins and Filipao launches his way down towards turn 1. From my eye, I'd say Grunwald potentially had a better start. They came into the background and Zabdir has lost out a little bit to Cernau, who's down the inside at the moment going into Le Source. They bunked out of the corner. Filipao going to lead comfortably by 0.4 of a second as we begin that 2-kilometre run up to La Source. A little bit of 3 wide in the background as Lee Taylor, Pavlicek and Miller Gravy go side by side, and it's also Thomas Martin also trying to get in there. A little bit of side by side. Pavlicek still able to hang on at the moment, but Miller Gravy I think might have just managed to make it stick. It's not, it is the pole of Pavlicek, but Filipao leading the way at the moment. The gap is closing down. 0.2, 1/10. Grunwald's on the charge. He's going to look to the outside into Les Combes. Can Grunwald do it straight away? There's a little bit of contact between the two as going around the outside. Alexander Grunwald, super move. Might get a slowdown though.
Really aggressive from the Austrian driver there, round the outside of Les Combes, pushing Filipao to the inside and somehow managing to hold on to that. As we get a dive now from Cernau in the background, trying to get up into that second place. Filipao might lose 2 places. No, just about holds on to that one. So I think he's maybe a little bit shocked from that move from Grunwald. So aggressive there to get the lead.
And also, there was a little bit of a look in the background from Lapanik looking down the inside of Marius Zabdir, and now he's got to worry about Ian Pfeiffer in 6th position at the moment. But as we go through Pulm, we can take a little bit of a breath, and I think that kind of explains it as to what we're going to see through this race. Did you see how fast that gap was closing once they'd gone over Rivage? I think that's exactly what we're going to see throughout the entirety of this race. These cars do create a big, big hole for them to punch their way into, and I think it's not only the air that's being punched out of the way, it might well be a bit of the competitors as well. Grunwald leads from Filipao from Cernau in this 3-way battle for the race lead between the Lotus Evoras. They've got the 2 Porsches behind of Zabdir and Lapanik, and then the Merc of Pfeiffer. I will say Lee Taylor in the lone KTM has done quite a good job to hang on to 7th place, considering he was nearly making it 3 wide at 2 Rouge on the first lap.
And they're also about 4 wide coming into La Source as well, initially, with Villacrevi all the way around the outside, somehow surviving that one. So fair play to all of those guys. But great to see the aggressive racing, but everyone still on the track. And I want to see what Filippo can do. Can he come back now? Is he going to be able to fight Grunwald, or is Grunwald now just going to be able to pull away? We'll certainly see. But as you come out to start lap number 2, Filippo is keeping right on his tail.
Naturally, of course, trying to break the slipstream immediately was Grunwald there, pulling it straight over to the left-hand side of the track. The right-hand side is shot a little bit too deep into the source. And this is the thing with this kind of racing, Cam. There is such a thing as being too close going into a route, isn't there?
Yeah, you need to get the sort of slingshot effect, and for that you need to be a couple of car lengths further back. If you're right behind them, you don't get that the overspeed by the time you catch up to them, because you're basically touching them. Whereas if you're a couple of car lengths behind, by the time you've caught up through the slipstream, you're maybe 3, 4, 5 Ks quicker, or even more, and that is enough to make the move. And as we come up towards Lake Com, let's see how this slipstream is looking towards the inside. Grunwald coming towards to the defensive, and let's see, can Filippo go around the outside in retaliation? No, he can't, and Grunwald holds on, but actually in the background, Cernel coming side by side. Yeah,
trying to get around the outside into Malmedy. That one doesn't work, but he's got the up and under into Ravage potentially. This trio putting on a bit of a show here for us in the GT4 Trophy. I'd have to say that I don't know about you, I think Filippo looked out way too early. You saw that gap was closing and kind of wanted to be a bit greedy and take advantage too early, and just pulled out of the slipstream. But then as soon as you do that, you smash into that wall of air that you're not being protected from anymore. And I think it was just a little bit too early. That's how it goes sometimes. Grunwald, though, racing for Ballas Esports. Filippo racing, of course, for the virtual drivers by TX3 camp. No relation to the T3 Motorsports as much as it's TX3. And you kind of think maybe TX3, T3, they've just removed the X. It's the same team. Certainly not T3 Motorsports. Very different squad.
Yes, indeed, and Filippo there trying to get the lead. He's in such a difficult situation though, because he needs to attack, and to do that he might need to go offline a little bit. The issue is, you see the second he goes offline, Cernel behind is really going to be diving down the inside, so he needs to find the best place he can to hold on to that. So they go really wide, coming up towards Blanchemont, trying to get to the run. And let's see if Filippo can get a bit of a dive here in towards the really hard braking zone down into the final chicane.
This is expected to be an 8-lap race, this one, with it being 20 minutes and then running 2.5 minute laps, all a little bit wide again from Cernel. Just getting it back onto the track. It won't matter too much. There is an instant limit. Of course, we know this when you go racing in RaceRoom. If you have too much contact, too many track excursions and stuff, you can get DQ'd from the race. It's still quite a high number. I think it's 40. For an event like this, you get 4 instant points for each bit of contact, 1 for exceeding. You kind of understand the system elsewhere in sim racing. It is very, very similar here, with slight discrepancies as to how the points are gifted in that sense. We shouldn't really see a DQ in a race like this. They should be safe. It's more so those pesky slowdowns which can really cause an issue.
And it's one thing we say a few times as well. If you're getting to that many incident limits, you're having a bad race anyway. So it's not like you're going to be able to sort of abuse that from the front, because if you get that many contacts or that many off tracks, you're certainly having a few incidents as such. But these three, without incidents so far, but just behind, actually getting a bit of side by side in the backgrounds. That's Peffer there trying to battle with Lapinik. Lapinik trying to get past on the inside, and actually someone's gone off.
Lapinik, it's Lapinik, see you mate. He's gone for a bit of a straight line over Lake Com, rejoins the race circuit ahead of Ian Piper, the Virtual Racing School's satellite racing driver. I can almost guarantee that would be a slowdown penalty, and I kind of get the feeling that Lapinik might have to serve that one pretty soon, as it will be building. Rolling through here. Piper not able to get his way past at the moment, and still not able. Did he receive a slowdown? Surely he did.
Well, let's see. Coming towards Pouan, he hasn't sort of moved over to lose that time just yet, but certainly holding on to that one is Lapinik, and now Piper trying to get the run through Pouan. We don't always see sort of a dive here into the chicane, but actually a bit of flashing there, trying to just show his annoyance from that one. But you've got to be careful, because we've got Taylor, Cravey and even Pavlicek behind, starting to get on the back of these guys.
I think that's why Piper's going to be a little bit irritated by that Lapinik straight line quite a lot of the circuit. going over at La Source there. Oh, so, yeah, La Source. Les Combes, rather. See, how many times have I commentated at Spa? I'm getting it completely the wrong way around. Goodness me. Les Combes, when he straight lined it, and then, you know, if you're in Piper's point of view, you're going to be a little bit irritated because not only are you being held up by this pesky car ahead, you've also got, as you rightly pointed out, Lee Taylor, Cravey, Pavlicek, all really, really close behind that you are now put under pressure by, all because that one driver skipped the chicane.
Yeah, and it looks like it was Lapinec obviously making the overtake. He went to the inside, then we cut away. When we came back, he was sort of going too deep. So I guess he just dived down the inside and broke way too late. And now Lee Taylor is all over the back, having a bit of a look here in towards La Source. This isn't always the place where you want to overtake because A, you just lose time to the car ahead, and B, you then sort of are vulnerable to the slipstream coming back at you as you come up the hill once again. But first of all, it is the downhill run towards Eau Rouge and Radion that is so important.
Yeah, there's so many examples of making a move into a corner, like for example, like La Source, where you kind of like it's a really silly move there. Other examples, turn 1 at South Korea, you know, basically anywhere at Monza you're going to get, you know, go through Ascari at Monza, you're going to get past again. There's quite a lot of examples where you're making a move basically onto a very long straight. Going into turn 1, it's the Red Bull Ring, another good example. You don't really want to make moves into these corners because you just open yourselves up to attack going into the following corner. It's about understanding the track that you're racing at, not just being fast around here, but being weighty with the mind as well. Lapinec still able to hang on for 5th spot. Grunewald still able to hang on to the race lead. Philippau, I'm keeping an eye on it. Philippau is very, very close, but not close enough to really try anything.
Not close enough yet, but it is just a few tenths, and any little mistake here or there is going to affect that one, and he's not giving up just yet, which is good to see. Obviously, losing that position, and you know, trying not to lose even more points in the championship if he can. They finished in this order last race. If they could swap it around, they would then obviously be on equal points, which would be good coming into the 3rd race of the season in a couple of weeks' time. As Zanvol, the car in the background, Cerno, he's gone off. Zabdir up into 3rd place, and Cerno, is he going to lose more positions or can he get back up to speed?
Yeah, I think just the 1 position loss, but now, well, guess where Cerno is? He's right in that battle, a little bit ahead of and potentially more confident on pace, but he's right in that battle with Lapinec, Piper, Taylor, Cravey, even Pavlicek, really. They're all a little bit ahead of Sarah Van Feitland, who's up into 10th place. I think she's done a very good job to work her way forward in this race, inside the top 10, just picking off the odd spot here and there to work her way up the order. Little bit tight there. It wasn't Philippau getting alongside Grunewald, so don't worry. Grunewald's still able to lead, as you can see, in the foreground of shot, running into the 1st corner now as we pass halfway through this race. 4 laps complete, 4 laps left to go, looking straight down the inside. Oh my goodness. Piper was going to give it a go on Lapinec, and all it's going to do is slow them down.
And this is sometimes where obviously you can get a bit frustrated with the car ahead and you start going for you know, a funky overtake to try and sort of to prove them. Well, let's see how this one works. Up the hill once again. Cerno ahead of them isn't really too close enough to be affecting them so much, but there might be the tiniest bit of slipstream going in the way of Lapinec. Let's see how that one affects Ian Piper coming up towards Les Combes. And so far, Taylor's not close enough, so it's just going to be a one-on-one battle, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough yet. He might have to redo the favour and do a cheeky send down the inside, but not this lap.
Oh, a little bit of contact on the road. Oh, never mind. Lapinec has been sent around by Ian Piper. Little bit of a tap. Look who's come through as well. Lee Taylor in that KTM crossbow, now up inside the top 5, just keeping Philip Cravey behind. I mean, that's an easy mistake for Ian Piper to make, but that was a costly one. Straight around the outside, Philip Cravey trying to make it stick. A little bit of a kick of oversteer. Out of Rivage, we head down the hill.
That was a weird one from Piper. It didn't look like he was coming in, you know, massively too fast, but certainly in the end it was too fast, hitting the back of Lapinec there. And you know, it's one of those things where you know, it's sort of slam dunk his fault really. Didn't look like Lapinec was doing anything wrong, and unfortunately yeah, Piper just spinning the Russian driver. So let's see how that one improves this battle, as it's certainly heating up. There's still 8 minutes to go, so I wonder how this one's going to continue.
Feisty. I think that's how it's going to continue. I think we're certainly not done with this battle. That is the only thing that we can guarantee in all of this. And I have just seen, by the way, with that race leader, Grimwald, who just came through Stavilo, almost completely sideways. Absolute madness. Filipao just very, very close in that second spot at the moment. And it's looking like if things continue, it will be back-to-back victories for Grunwald. But I don't think that battle's done. That is for sure. They're heading to 3 laps left to go as we look at Villa Cravey looking to the outside again of Ian Pfeiffer. Will commit onto the brakes and try and get around the outside of the first part of the bus stop. Will give the inside for the second part, but just not long enough to make anything stick. And the thing is with there, if you are on the inside, the outside line can carry the momentum and push its way onto this very short straight. It's only got I think it's 550 metres down towards turn 1. It's not a very long straight, but it is uphill.
Yeah, the straight is a bit funny because it's almost just connecting the dots between the final chicane and La Source there. And as you mentioned, La Source isn't really the place where you want to be making an overtake. However, if you can get through in that final chicane, it could do well because it sort of slows down the car that you're battling with as we come up the hill. Once again, see these 3 Mercedes in a row, or even 4 if you include Williams, who's a few seconds behind them as well. And Taylor there up into the top 5 in that KTM, which, as we said, has sort of been, helped the most with keeping it as default as possible with the BOP, and it seems to be working out so far.
Indeed. Great little fight that we have. Grunwald, 0.3 of a second clear. There is your race lead at the moment, and Grunwald with it at the moment for now, but Filippo's getting closer and closer and closer. And I think that's kind of one of those things that we expect later on in the race. You know, I never understand how it works. I mean, we've both had it in the car, right? You know, where you're sat there and you can't catch the guy. You just can't catch him. You sat there half a second back and you just can't get close enough. And then suddenly, with a few laps left to go in the race, it's almost as if you find a bit of second wind. You start to push that a little bit harder, to exploit the limits of that track that little bit more. They start to feel the pressure. The gap comes a little bit closer, and then you're afforded the opportunity.
Yeah, and just look how close they are on pace as well on the overlay. Both doing a 30.6 with just literally thousandths of a second between them. But yes, you're right. When it gets to that final couple of laps, I guess maybe the pressure starts coming in. Maybe the car ahead's looking in their mirrors too much. And all of a sudden, you just miss the odd apex here and there, lose maybe a tenth. And that is all it is to give the driver behind the opportunity. Because when you sit behind someone for so long, you really get used to their driving ahead. You get used to their line. So you can spot every mistake. And Filippo getting so close here through Blanchemont, he's certainly going to be thinking about an overtake.
Yeah, I think he's close enough to think, but it's the whole thing that we were kind of chatting about. Is it too early to make it stick down here? Well, there was a defensive move from Grunwald, went a little bit too deep into that chicane. This fight is absolutely on as we head on to 2 laps left to go. Like we've said before, you don't want to make a move into La Source. You've got to really make it stick at Les Combes, but there is also too early in the race to make it stick. If you can almost guarantee an overtake courtesy of the slipstream, then you want to wait a little bit. You might want to wait until the final lap. You might want to wait even until the final corner, but you'd have to be a braver man than me to give that one a go. Grunwald leading at the moment from Filippo, and this battle will continue.
It certainly will, and it looks like the slipstream is going to be working his way, and it seems like he's got a really good run here. This could be the opportunity towards the outside. Les Combes is probably going to have to be. We saw this on the first lap. Is he going to repay? Bit of contact between the two as we're coming towards the braking zone, but no, Filippo has to back out of it that time around. Grunwald holds on.
Yeah, just for now, though, Grunwald was a little bit too deep now. Mohamedi. Oh, I think there might have been a bit of a connection thing there as well for Grunwald. Filippo, this is his opportunity. Looks to the outside, coming down to revise. The big defensive move from the Austrian. Committed on the brakes, trying to make it stick around the outside. This is a big one to try a little bit of oversteer going into the corner. The rear end just not keeping up with the front. Filippo's going to have to hold on. Have to settle for second right now. Great little attempt, but the pressure is on Grunwald's shoulders for the final couple of laps of this race. Absolutely superb battling here in the GT4 Trophy in the AM category. There are clear issues, though, for the Austrian right now.
Yeah, he's warping a little bit and just not being 100% on the track sometimes. So that's actually, it really puts you off as the second car behind, because obviously you've got to predict where he's going to be, and that's a bit difficult with the sort of inconsistencies as we've seen on the last lap or so. So hopefully that one doesn't affect it too much, but either way, he is the faster driver right now. He's almost pushing him through these corners out onto the straight through curve Paul Frere, and let's see how the slipstream is this time around, as he's going to have one more lap to try it.
Yeah, here we go then, as they will race their way up towards the bus stop chicane once again. They'll tick off Blanchimont, and is Philippel thinking that this is the opportune moment to make a move? Oh, a little bit of a snap there from Grunwald. A lot of curb was taken from Philippel. Is there a look to the inside? Certainly filling the mirrors, trying to force a mistake that isn't quite there. Once again, that connection, you're absolutely right. For the driver behind, that is terrifying. And all Philippel will be thinking is, I want to get through straight away. I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. Continues to lag a little bit. Grunwald leads across the line to start the final lap of the race as we head into La Source once more.
And this is where the run is potentially going to be. But as we said before, you don't want to be too close coming up towards Eau Rouge and Rallion. You want to have enough to get the slipstream effect. And it looks like he might just be close enough, but he has dropped back to car length or so, as that's obviously changing with Grunwald, just moving back and forth ever so slightly there. How is this one going to work out as we come up the Kemmel Straight?
Wow, here we go then. Let's see, is this going to be the opportunity for the move into that slipstream? Punching that hole is Grunewald. Philippel's trying to attack. They've tried the outside bit. They've made contact on this straight 3 times before. Are they going to make it for a 4th? Straight around the outside. The Frenchman's making it stick. Enter Philippel's not quite there enough. And that is excellent defence from Grunewald. Bit of a moment there. You could see the opposite lock from Philippel heading through Malmedy. Absolutely superb stuff between the top 2. But now we really come down to the thick of it. Is there really only one more opportunity for Philippel to try and make this stick? Grunwald's able to hang on. Does it come down to the bus stop chicane on the last lap of this race?
We'll have to find out, because it's difficult to get past to this part of the track, but it would certainly be an interesting one if he can find a place. Grunwald is having the car sort of wiggling all over the track, and not just because of the the sort of the connection that we've seen last couple of laps, but also just from his driving style, certainly been pushing the limits of those rear tyres on his Lotus. And as we come up towards the very important Flanders chicane, how close can Filippo keep towards Grunwald, because this is going to be so important to know what type of run he's going to get out onto the back straight.
Well, here we go then. Deep breath, because I'm sure these drivers won't be breathing for another, I'd say 30 seconds. We know it's going to be slightly longer before they hit the checkered flag for the entirety of the lap remaining. They are going to be holding their breath. They're desperate for this victory. Grunwald took one back at the Nürburgring. Philippel's trying to get one over the Austrian this time out. Blanchimont awaits. Could well build up to the final overtaking opportunity on this circuit. Deep in the slipstream is Philippel, out to the right-hand side through the apex beautifully at the moment. The Austrian's able to hang on for now. There is going to be a send, but which way? Left or right? Where do you go? Grunwald holds it roughly in the middle of the circuit, dives it in deep on the brakes. Is it too deep though? Going back around the outside. Philippel's going to go around the outside of the final corner. It's going to be a drag race to the line. I think the Austrian's going to be able to hang on right now. They're making contact. Who's going to win this? It's Grunewald versus Philippel, and Grunewald wins again in a GT4 Trophy here in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship. Super stuff. Absolutely nothing between them across the line. That was brilliant.
Certainly was. Great battle between the two. Went all race long, started in qualifying as well, and the two championship leaders continue that run of the two. And yeah, amazing battle between them. Great to see that that can continue for so long, and even side by side for 19th 20th place we got Felscheifer here. Can he hold on? I think it looks like he can. Duran and Dick just behind. So yeah, plenty of action up and down the field, which is what we love to see.
Yep, no matter what your position you were in, there was a great battle. Certainly was for the race lead. Grunewald ahead of Philippel, and the two separated by, it must have been tenths of a second across the line, maybe even less than that. A fantastic little battle, but Grunewald taking back-to-back victories. Philippel behind in the virtual drives by T3. It's a great day for Ballast Esports, taking wins in both the Rookie Cup and now the GT4 Trophy. Zabdir in third, and then Surnau, who'll be a bit disappointed to drop off the podium courtesy of of a mistake, but that's how it goes. Then Lee Taylor in the KTM Crossbar, the lone one on the grid. Pfeiffer, Cravey, Pavlicek, Williams and Lino will round out the order there as Martin, Van Feitpland, then Lapanik, Sandstrom, Ornelis, Seidler, Batani, Gomez, Phil Shifter and Duran in 20th position. And then we've got Deke, Giordano, and then Frolingsdorf, nice, and Canal, 23rd and 24th on the grid. But of course, we're not done here, Cam, are we? We're over halfway through the evening's proceedings. We do have one final race, and this is the big one. It's the GT3. It's the pro drivers taking to the circuit.
Yeah, and if the GT4 race is anything to go by, then yeah, I can't wait to see how this one is going to work for these guys. The GT3 car, obviously, a bit more downforce, a bit more ability in the corners, a bit faster in the straight line as well, so a bit more fast action compared to what we saw in the GT4s. But certainly, that was a good warm-up for what we're going to see in this pro race.
Again, it's going to be 10 minutes of qualifying, and then we'll head into a half-hour race in the Pro Gold server. And it's a bit of a longer race, as you would expect. Is when you get the pro drivers out there, you want the race to be a bit more meaty. They have to be a little bit more tactical with how they approach a race like this. But if you've been enjoying the racing action, of course you can do the standard YouTube stuff of liking and subscribing, which each to their own, but of course if you're really fancying this and you really want to jump in, well, you can do so, because obviously on Steam you can download RaceRoom and you can get involved for round three of the championship. We go racing at Zandvoort. Qualifying will be open for the rookie, the AM and the pro categories for that, but not only that, me, Cam, and Ewan O'Leary, who will return for the next round of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, will be jumping into the commentary booth as a trio once again, but this time on Friday, this coming Friday, for the Nürburgring 2.4 hour. And if that sounds entertaining, well, qualifying is still open, and we'd highly recommend you go and take part. Of course, we've got the Broadcasters Gold race, but there will be other splits as well that you can go and sink your teeth into. And it's kind of one of those things of, why wouldn't you?
It's a great event. It's a difficult track, but it's an amazing one. And obviously 2.4 hours is long enough to get that endurance vibe around there. It's not going to be an easy one, but certainly an entertaining one indeed. Such a rewarding track when you start getting it right. And those GT3 cars just are the perfect fit around that track as well. So yeah, get yourself involved and we'll see you. And that's already in just 2 days' time.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm well excited for. Always love those 2.4-hour races. So open on strategy, you can do so much. And then when you couple that with a visit to the Green Hell, the second best racetrack in the world, I'm not having any of what other people would say. It is still Bathurst, but still, any visit to the Nordschleife is always going to be a good one. The pro category, by the way, qualifying is underway, but they're on their outlap, so I wouldn't panic too much. But we are seeing them out on circuit right now. I did read through the BOP, and for anyone that is interested, I will read through the BOP here in the GT3s, but bear with me because there is a few. Of course, 2 cars are left well, we'll speak to restrictors first. 3 cars are left on 100%, which is the McLaren 650, the McLaren 720 and the Porsche 911 GT3. Going down to 99% will be the Mercedes-AMG GT3 of the 2019 and the 2020 spec, the Evo spec car. Ferrari 488, the Callaway is on 98%. Bentley Continental, both the standard and the Evo, are both on 99%. BMW M6 GT3 is on 98%, and the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo is on 99%. Various bits of ballast. I'll just say the heaviest and the lightest. The Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo has 30 kilos of ballast added to it, and 3 cars are untouched. It's the original Bentley Continental GT3, the one from 2017, I think it was. That one has 0 kilograms. The McLaren 650S and the Porsche 911 GT3R. That was a bit of a mouthful, but we'll just get straight to it, as we can see Max Pfeiffer wrestling one of the Merc Evos around.
Yeah, it's looking great between those cars, and it's interesting the BOP is so obviously big for a couple of the cars, but obviously that's what we want to do, trying to keep them nicely together. And I think that's going to overall, especially around this track, be a nice and close competition. Obviously, that will be in effect, I believe, when we get to Nürburgring as well, keeping it nice and close.
well, on board with Max Pfeiffer, which you can tell he's driving his own car because he's got Max Pfeiffer written on it. Of course, racing in the esports stuff. We have a couple of championships with various esports liveries and stuff being used, and so yeah, fair enough. You get the opportunity, use it.
Absolutely, I certainly would, because it's probably his car number as well, and obviously, we discuss this a lot. Every driver has their favourite number that they want to get on their on their car, because it's certainly a bit of a personalisation there to have his name. But obviously, when you get out on track, you don't really look at those things because it's you're more focused on the cars ahead. And certainly, these cars they're in a bit of a train. So maybe this slipstream is going to be an effect in these GT3 cars for the qualifying.
Oh, I'd still expect, we're still going to see slipstream play its part. I mean, we kind of always expect it when we go racing. Anytime we go racing on RaceRoom in GT3s, slipstream is a part of it, whether it's part of the fuel game or whether it's just part of aggressive. I don't think we're going to see any fuel game. It's only a half-hour race, so we're going to see plenty of racing action with such a talented grid, by the way. So many names that we'd see at the higher end of esports racing, whether it is in the DTM Esports Championship or the ADAC GT Masters Esports Championship, the Cooper Sim Racing Series, all these racing champions we have on RaceRoom when it comes to the likes of Mackenberg, Wittfurt, Cody Nicola, Latkovsky, also the likes of Balash Noj, Max Pfeiffer as well. There is so many names on this grid where I'm like, yep, I've seen you race at the very, very top level, and so it might be a little bit scary and a bit intimidating for someone coming in thinking I was going to join into just this nice little community race in the evening, and suddenly it's like, nah, this is proper stuff.
Well, that is why this is the gold server in the pro category. So this is the best of the best that have signed up here this week for the round 2, and it's great to see such a competitive field. And I'm sure we're going to see some close lap times, which already Wittfurt is just 12 thousandths of a second behind Mackenberg at the front.
Well, it's why we roll through the round, starting with rookie into GT4s and then into the GT3s. It's rookie to AM to pro. We expect these grids to get closer and closer as the evening goes on. It's exactly what we are seeing right now. Like I say, Mackenberg from Luciano Wittfurt, Cody Nicola Latkovsky in what is now 4th position, because guess who's gone to the top? Axel Vermeulen, your winner from the Nürburgring, has just gone to the top in one of those Callaways, one of those pesky Callaways that some people don't like. I love a good Callaway. I think the rear wing is hilarious. It's unique, and I love it. I think it looks great.
It certainly does, and it's working, but it's so close there at the front, and even Latkovsky just behind them as well, getting very close as Moisen goes to the top by almost 0.4 of a second. So there's us saying he's looking close, but look at that from the German.
And it's in one of those brand new McLaren 720s. Those are brand new, and you think, hang on, what's this guy talking about? Because they're not brand new. But the McLaren 720 is new to the platform. They've had it added this year, courtesy of the 2021 DTM cars. Alex Mosen doing a great job in that car. He's exceeded, though, going through Eau Rouge and through. Sorry, let me just correct myself immediately. Going through Radion before anyone jumps into the comments and goes, actually, no, yeah, that's all right. I'm ahead of you. Don't worry. Mosen exceeded there. He has already bailed back into the pit lane. His session is done. A 2:17.0 is all he will get onto the board. Can Pfeiffer set a decent lap time to challenge? Yes, he can. Up into 2nd position. Not quite done in this session yet.
And look how close that one is as well, 33 thousandths of a second. So it is literally coming down to a blink of an eye between some of these drivers, and even a second for the top 8, which is what we want to see. Yellows in Sector 3, so drivers maybe made a mistake there, unfortunately. And as you say, this is going to be the final lap for some of these drivers that they're on with 2.5 minutes to go. So this is their last chance to set some good sectors.
Which is pressure, isn't it? When you're in a session like this and you know that you're on your last lap, some drivers react to that pressure really, really well. Others do not. Here's a driver who has plenty of experience reacting to that style of pressure. Gail Gortner, of course, a large member of the community, a large member of the development base as well, behind the scenes at RaceRoom. I'm pretty sure he would still work at RaceRoom. I've not met Gail for about 3 years. We've done a couple of events together. He was there in 2018. I distinctly remember at the Nürburgring at the LAN event, and then of course I think it might well have been the last LAN event that we did on RaceRoom, which was 2019. Such a long time ago. Obviously, then the world came to a bit of an abrupt close to some degree. But Friedrich Schaffen of course, at the Tuning World Bowdenzy, we had a LAN event there, desperate to get back onto that type of stuff. And Geir Gaultner was one of the people there helping organise it alongside the likes of Rob Wiesenmuller. Has plenty of experience, though, when it comes to driving and racing, and a very popular member of the community.
Certainly indeed. It was all around the Discord getting involved there, which is good to see. But then that people like that who are obviously helping out behind the scenes then can also come into the race and obviously do some fast lap times as well, which is, it's nice to see. As we said, it's more of a community aspect that this championship and other races that we do are involved in, and it's great to see the crossover between that. And as he comes out over the second sector line, is he going to be improving himself, which is obviously what he wants to do, but unfortunately 1.2 seconds down, so might be able to set actually he's going to be setting his first proper lap time of the day when he gets to it. Might be able to get himself towards inside the top 20.
Well, an improvement from Luciano Viva. An improvement, though, from Pfeiffer. Pole position has switched over, and Max Pfeiffer has just done it at the end of the session. Said that Alex Mosin might be under pressure. We've still got 30 seconds left of this session. Latkovsky is coming across the line. Is there any improvement from him to 4th place? As we'll see the grid order. You can see plenty of cars coming across the line. 15 seconds left to go. Pfeiffer from Mosin, from Luciano Viva, from Nikola Latkovsky. Then for Malin, your Nürburgring winner, will be starting alongside Sven Mackenberg, Rui Felipe, Marvin Mackenberg, of course the brother. He's just been pushed down a little bit by Kirill Sokovikov now, who's moved up into 8th position. Balázs Nagy, the final car inside the top 10 before we get Makovsky and Sebastian Ray, before we get into the final positions on the grid that you can see on your screen now. Superb lap time, though, from Max Pfeiffer right at the end.
And just nicking it, and that just shows you that it doesn't matter necessarily what lap you can do, even if it is with just a couple of seconds left. So fair play to him. But with how close this in qualifying, I assume that's going to translate to this 30-minute race as well. So it's heating up to be a really good second race here for this for round 2, I should say, for Spa-Francorchamps.
Pfeiffer is such a young talent to keep an eye on in esports racing. Has achieved so much in such a short period of time, and I think will continue to achieve an awful lot through 2022, as we are not quite halfway through the year, but we are approaching that state rapidly, which is very concerning when you think we've just started June. But that is how it goes. So we'll put half an hour onto the clock, and this is where things get a little bit feisty, a little bit breathless, as we get ourselves underway in the pro race. Of course, GT3s at Spa, an excellent combination. Max Pfeiffer and Alex Mosin on the front row of the grid as we get underway for our final race of the evening, and it is a great launch from Max Pfeiffer, leading very, very cleanly into that first corner. In the background, it's Axel Vermeulen, who's dropped back from 5th to 6th, then trying to move his way back up. It's Rui Felipe going for a bit of a spin, also involved in that. That would have been Mackenberg, I believe it's Sven Mackenberg, who's been spun round at the first corner. It's carnage at La Source as we continue racing.
And Latkovsky there fighting with Viva in turn number 1, and Viva dropping down to 4th place. And this top 4 have really, top 5 I should say, with Vermeulen just behind, really starting to get a bit of a gap already as we're going side by side towards the braking zone of Les Combes. Is there going to be any sort of battle like we saw last race in the GT4s? No, they have not, as Pfeiffer holds on.
Yeah, the two Germans running first and second, Max Pfeiffer, Alex Mosin at the moment. Then Latkovsky, the Macedonian, is on the attack in the Mercedes. Then you've got Luciano Viva and then Axel Vermeulen, who survived the melee at T1. The 5 of them have pulled 1.3 seconds clear over Marvin Mackenberg, or Sven Mackenberg was spun around at the first corner, but Marvin Mackenberg has been able to survive. He holds on from the AlphaTauri liveried Ferrari of Balázs Nagy, then Makovsky, then Cadeau, and then Sokovikov rounding out your top 10.
And it's been, certainly a bit more of a calm start. But that's turn 1. Obviously, people just trying to gain positions here and there. Small bits of contact and aggressive driving can be made. And unfortunately, as you said, Mackenberg getting dropped down. But as we come through Sector 2, seems to have obviously got down into a bit more of a single file, which is what we like to see all the drivers continuing. Because a half-hour race, there's a little bit more strategy that can be had compared to the shorter 15 and 20-minute races that we had earlier this evening. So certainly a bit more time for the drivers to think about how they're going to get past.
Wow, There might well be, but still, a move's a move. We saw even in the GT4 race that it was a little bit tricky. When you up the speed, moves can become even harder still, and that's where things do get a little bit tricky, and you have to maybe get a little bit more feisty out on the circuit. The two Germans, though, that will lead us across the line to end the first lap here in the GT3 race will be Pfeiffer and then Mosen. You have a flag out in the final sector. Who's that who's dropping back down the order? I think it might have been Cloud. It is indeed Mark Cloud who drops down into 24th and last. Here's Godot looking to the inside. A little bit of Makovsky goes straight back around the outside at La Source. He's committed on the brakes. Sokovikov is also looking to come through.
And let's look at this huge trade of cars as we come down towards Eau Rouge, and this is going to be a huge slipstream for those guys a little bit further behind as well, so certainly need to be on your toes with that. Looking in your mirrors, as well, are we going to see Markovsky trying to defend this one, or is he not able to, because look how close Cadeau is behind him, going side by side now as we come towards the braking zone. The two Callaways, who is going to be braver? It looks like Markovsky there on the outside is going to be able to hold on.
Yeah, a little bit of side-by-side contact. Akeem gets up past Stresemann as well, and so does make up a little bit of a move in the very, very hard-to-miss bright pink BWT Merc that is sat a few positions back of this. Is Akeem, and he's just attacking Peter Chak now in 11th place. But an interesting bit of racing between Makovsky and Cadeau there. We do expect to see a little bit of rubbing going down into the braking zone at Les Combes, because you want to rough up your rival a little bit, but still, a bit of a moment there.
Oh yeah, a bit of contact on Puan, which you don't always see. It's not really one of those corners as Sokovikov now goes towards the outside, just trying to put his rival off. As you know, he's going to go all the way around the outside himself. That'll be the inside for the next one, if he can hold on to that one. Very opportunistic, up into 9th place.
That was a lovely move into around the outside of the PIF, inside of the PAF, and boom, the position is done. But still, Cadeau's looking back to the inside. There's a little bit of contact again. You can kind of get that vibe that Sokovikov is receiving a little bit of Morse code from the rear, and it's actually translated to "get out of my way, thank you very much. I've got to catch that Matkovsky guy who I've already made contact with in this race." Sokovikov, though, not going to deal with any of that. Going into Blanchimont, that Callaway, you can see how close it was in the mirror, but it goes back to that thing. What is too close? I think Cadeau just really found out.
Always Makovsky there goes too deep, and that's going to open potentially another door to Sokovikov. He's just sat behind, and this is obviously the difficult position for Cadeau. Was he either needed to attack or lose position. Now that has turned around to Sokovikov, and if an opportunity comes, he's going to need to send it down the inside, especially as a couple of second gap is forming, although just behind them. But actually, you might see Cadeau lose another position, but he holds up.
That was a little bit of contact for Akeem, who was squeezing in that pink Merc in the background, just trying to keep Stratemans at bay for 12th position. You can see the gap being very, very close there. Of course, all of these... Whoa! Big moment from Sokovikov. And there was also another one in the background for Sebastian Ray. That was a huge catch, as we'll go 3 wide down towards Les Combes. Who was that? Was that Peter Chak, who's gone straight around the outside? Little bit of contact made between himself and Eamon Akeem, and Sokovikov has dropped back 1, 2, 3 positions. Oh, and there's another one. That was Peter Chak, who's been spun around going through Les Combes and will drop now to the back of the grid.
All sorts of action going on between these guys. Sokovikov is trying to now battle with Akeem, who's actually worked his way up nicely over the course of all of that. But yeah, for sure, there's some bit of a spin or some action happening up ahead as well.
Yeah, so I was just looking at Mosen, who was going through the corner with no name. I don't know if he had a slow-down penalty, but Luciano Wittfurt went into the rear end of him. He was going a little bit slower than was expected through the corner with no name, and Alex Mosen's been sent off. He did make contact with the barrier on the left-hand side as well, a fair lick as well. So not great from Mosen. Of course, the Ballas Esports driver, who is trying to make it the clean sweep for Ballas Esports here at Spa in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship of 2022. But I think that one might well not come to fruition, because Pfeiffer is 2 seconds clear now of Luciano Wittfurt.
Yeah, the sort of big changes at the front, really opening up those gaps of where some drivers used to fill in. And as you say, to be honest, he dropped down to 4th place. He's worked his way back up into 2nd, so fair play to that one. But now he's got some work to do Pfeiffer's really trying to obviously keep that gap, but he's lost a few tenths there in the final sector. But those guys behind, they are going to start battling as Nakowski is getting really close to Vitford.
I hadn't even really thought about it, but Luciano Vitford and Alex Mosen, they're both teammates. So we didn't see it on stream, but two teammates did just make contact because Vitford and Mosen, they definitely touched. But now this is where Nikola Latkovsky has a decision to make, right? Sat there in third, what do? Do you attack, or do you just try and let the guy ahead do what he's doing? Well, we've just had our answer.
Yeah, we certainly have. Latkovsky goes towards the outside on the Camel Straight. He got such a run. He's passed already, so I guess Vitford there probably lifted off a tiny bit. That's going to put him under pressure now, actually, from Vermeulen behind, but he's going to hold on as we come in towards Lake Com. And I think, obviously, when you're teammates, as such, sometimes you actually maybe are more inclined to get past because you know it's effectively a free position if you ask them to not battle you too hard.
I mean, the thing is, right, so we've all kind of had this of like the battle too hard. Do you want to battle when you're in a fight like this, or do you want to play the long game? Most racing drivers are kind of wired in the same way of, if there's a car ahead, I want to pass him. But sometimes it's just not the wisest deal to go for a move. Sometimes you've got to think long game. You've got to think, yes, it's a half-hour race, but still, play the long game. Don't fight so much straight from the off, and just wait for things to unfold. Basically, in your battling, you've allowed the race leader to clear 2.5 seconds, and Max Pfeiffer's good enough to hang on to that.
He certainly is, and you are right in that one. You don't want to battle. You don't want to let those gaps open up because it's so difficult to catch that down in the in the second half of the race. You want to be keeping those gaps as close as you can, as it certainly is in this midfield battle that we've been looking at over the last couple of laps or so. To get a bit of side-by-side action actually through Paul Frere, which you don't always see, as Sokovikov there is batting with Ray, and Ortner is moving up the field nicely.
Yeah, and kind of just putting on a bit of a show again, which is what we want from Georg Ortner. Sebastian Ray really on the back end of Sokovikov, though, going through Blanchimont and nearly got his way through, but I think that was another example of being too close. So Ortner's going to pounce on that opportunity straight down the inside, a little bit too deep there from Bakker. He's going to drop back on Sven Mackenberg. A little bit of contact there as Georg Ortner just taps the rear end of Sebastian Ray onto the start finish, straight down towards the source again. There is side-by-side in the background. That is Ruud Felipe, who's also working his way back up the order after a spin at turn 1. Gets down the inside of Martin Bakker and moves his way up now into 16th position.
And the thing is, we said maybe La Source isn't the best place to overtake, but because there's such a trend of cars ahead, it's actually worked out because he'll get the slipstream of that Bentley ahead of him of Mackenberg as well. So that was actually, situationally, actually quite a good move for him, as Ray now trying to get the slipstream on Sokovikov, looking down the inside, trying to get that position back that we saw him lose just half a lap ago, and it looks like he's just about done, although Sokovikov is going to hold it around the outside once again into Lake Arm. Some nice battles we've seen there today.
Yeah, of course. Lovely to see the variety of cars here. The McLaren 650S that is presently on the screen. We've also got the 720. There's no MP4-12C, so no flamethrower. I can confirm that the MP4-12C and the 650S are quite low cars. They're very hard to get into and very hard to get out of, Cam.
Which I may or may not have a video on my phone of. As Ray goes a little bit too wide there. Is he going to be losing the position to Orno? Is going to be able to hold on, actually, down the inside? Actually, no. Orno around the outside of that first apex of Pouon. That is an amazing move if he can hold on to it, which he can. Fair play.
Super stuff. And Sokovikov now is given a bit of space, a bit of breathing room. The defensive move from Sebastian Ray, trying to keep Mackenberg at bay through Piff Paff, and does indeed do so. But that was a little costly mistake, a bit of a solo one from the German of Sebastian Ray, and managed to catch it up quite nicely, but still it's losing a costly amount of time.
Certainly is, and we're going a bit wide once again as Mackenberg now behind, starting to get a bit of a run here for virtual drivers by TX3 here, 15th place And you can see just how close these drivers are. If you lose one place, you're already exposed towards that car behind us. Ray once again goes wide there, trying to get a bit of a run towards the final chicanes, looking down the inside. Orner's just going to defend that bit of contact between the two, and it's getting really close between all 4 or 5 of these drivers.
It's getting dicey indeed. We're only 12 minutes into this race, and it is, yeah, dicey is a word I would use to describe what is going on here. It's fantastic entertainment, that is for sure. Rue Felipe now right on the rear end, who qualified inside the top 10, will have you remember, and so is knocking at the door to move his way back up. There's been drama for one of our higher competitors in all 3 of the categories today that have then moved back and have had to work their way through the order. Luciano Vitfort's now using his chance to get past the Macedonian of Latkovsky, straight down the inside, a little bit of a brush, pushes Latkovsky over the curb on the left-hand side of shot, and now Luciano Vitfort up into second. I think this entire group is thinking, we're letting Pfeiffer get away here. We are letting Pfeiffer go right now. It's 3 seconds, and Max Pfeiffer is really hanging on. I do remember the first race of the Cupra Sim Racing Series around this circuit in 2021. So, of course, last year. Who finished second that day? It was Max Pfeiffer. He led the majority of that race, not by a lot. But then Kirill Antonov came along and said, actually, I don't want you to win today. And then they finished across the line. Pretty sure it was only by 2-3 tenths of a second across the line. Of course, that's touring car racing and this is GT3 racing. But still, Max Pfeiffer knows defeat around the legendary circuit here in the Ardennes. I don't think he'll be, well, wanting to repeat that feat.
Yeah, maybe not, but Vitfort, I think, has recognised the gap and probably just wanted to get ahead and stop pulling the gap, which he has done by a few car lengths in this middle sector. Maybe seen the Vermeulen getting a bit close behind as well, so he does want to be under pressure from that, effectively being held up. It does seem that, obviously, we mentioned their teammates, but it doesn't seem like they're being overly friendly, because that was a little bit of an awkward move into Telecom a bit earlier on this lap, but it's good to see at least that they are batting their way up and not letting Pfeiffer get away with it.
Well, back to the battle further down the order. It's at the moment Ortner, who's still at the head of this little group. Sokovikov has been able to pull out by 2 seconds. Still has been able to hold that gap. Then you've got Ortner, Ray, Mackenberg and Felipe right now. I don't think Back has particularly got the pace to keep up necessarily if they don't battle, but as soon as they do, that is what opens them up to a move. That was Makovsky and Cadeau going side by side into T1 in the foreground, as there's the move down the inside from Felipe. That was a beautiful little send, dummied down the inside of Sven Mackenberg. I don't think it's going to work. They're going to be side by side down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radia.
And let's see who's going to come out on top with this one. Mackenberg really has a bit of a line, actually, to hold on to that one. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to. But it looks like on the tower, the Rue Felipe did manage to get through in that one. So fair play to him as we come back to this battle. Down low parts of the top 10, Cadeau there trying to really get on the back of Makovsky, but can't quite get through. He does get a bit of a run there, actually through into Malmedy, diving it down the inside. A nice move there, because you have the inside towards the hairpin as well.
Proper send, and you can see they're side by side in the foreground as well. Balashnosh trying to get around the outside of Marvin Mackenberg. Cadeau down the inside of Makovsky, still side by side through Ravage. Second apex picked up beautifully. Corner with no name around the outside for the Valvoline. Callaway of Cadeau. Little bit of a tap of the brakes there from Makovsky, who drops back in behind. That was a beautiful bit of racing. Same as it was directly ahead, by the way, between Marvin Mackenberg and Balashnosh. Absolutely superb stuff. And I can confirm, by the way, that Felipe managed to get through because Sven Mackenberg kind of gave a little bit of a breather to the throttle there and decided that he didn't want to make it side by side through Eau Rouge, which is a fair cop.
Oh, and they're batting side by side once again. Mackenberg looks like he's got back up into 15th on the tower as well. Very close between the two as this is continuing out of the Fania chicane, and it looks like Felipe has managed to hold on to that, but Mackenberg trying to come back at him at least, which is good to see. And look just how much bigger that Bentley is than the McLaren, but certainly isn't slowing him down as we come out onto the back straight.
I think I'll be able to climb in and out of the Bentley with relative ease. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm surprised that video has not appeared on social media of me trying to climb out of that McLaren, because it wasn't exactly the prettiest sight. Massive use of the curb from Sven Mackenberg, and that virtual drivers by TX3 machine just really abused it rolling through Blanchimont now into the braking zone, hooking up the curves either side. Big spin in the background though for Bakker, right ahead of Georgiev and Takazawa. I think they were able to carry on and all that, but Bakker's lost a whole heap of time.
Certainly has. That is such a it's kind of slightly easy to do because the way you take that, you actually sort of take speed through the first apex into the second. But yeah, just unfortunate that he's lost the places from that, as Latkovsky now trying to get back at his teammate Vitver up towards Lecom. We've seen these two battle multiple times, swapping positions. Are they going to do that again? Looks like he's trying to hold it around the outside. Is Latkovsky kind of needs to, because Vermeulen is getting close behind them, but he can't overtake his teammate just yet.
Yeah, Vermeulen's on a bit of a charge. They've all three managed to pull out against Alex Mosen, who I kind of assume might have had a slowdown penalty at some point in the recent past, because he was a part of this battle not too long ago. Ortner and Felipe switch a little bit for 14th position and continue to switch. That'll be up the Kemmel curve to Lecom. So we'll see who comes out on top in that one. I do believe it might well be Ortner after the little battle ensues, which would be a bit frustrating for the McLaren 650 of Rui Felipe, the Portuguese driver, the lone Portuguese driver on the grid, as he tries to find a way back up the order. But at the moment, big gaps forming, and there's bigger gaps forming still as the race goes on, which means that there's less opportunity for Felipe to work his way back up position-wise, but still maybe a bit more clean air. Luciano Wittfurt, Latkovsky and Vermeulen, this battle for second place, they all three have allowed Max Pfeiffer to pull away.
They certainly have over 5 seconds now, but that's just with the battling. I think at some point a few laps ago, with the way that they were battling, I think they decided to really almost give up on that lead as such. It is going to be impossible really to catch down those 5 seconds with how consistent and how fast Pfeiffer has been at the front. So it's really between these guys to work out who's going to get the last 2 places on the podium. And Vermeulen, he's sat there behind. He hasn't really challenged them too much so far this race, but let's see how that continues.
Now, typically on when we do one of these ranked races, we might be speaking of some extra prize money or maybe even just for the banter. This, though, is for points. It is a championship. There are points up for grabs for these spots. And for some drivers, like Luciano Wittfurt, who finished third last time out, finishing second this time, it's a good little point. So Axel Vermeulen, who obviously won last time out, well, if the positions finish as they do, as they're presently running, then Max Pfeiffer will actually circle up to the championship lead. He finished third at the previous round of the season, and Vermeulen ended up finishing in the race lead and took the victory. And so if Vermeulen wants to hang on to the championship lead, he really does need to get past not only Latkovsky but Wittfurt as well.
Yeah, that would be certainly nice, as we're getting Sokovikov just having to think about it once again. We saw him in the tower sort of having a bit of a switch around positions a bit earlier as well, as Nosha, I think, got past Mackenberg. Actually, Mackenberg, though, he's gone for a spin. He's off somewhere. Oh, that's a bad rejoin. That is a terrible rejoin there, making contact with a couple of drivers. I think Ortner was involved, and another one in the background as well. That was not a pretty sight.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some pretty bad rejoins and stuff, but that one certainly up there. It's just easy to do, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's his brother as well. That is not going to be a nice conversation later on, but that really was not a nice rejoin. Perpendicular to 3 or 4 cars oncoming the racing line. So yeah, not nice. Obviously had a bit of a spin there himself, but ruined a couple of other drivers' races after that.
I mean, we've seen brothers making contact in some fairly high-profile GT3 racing over the weekend. And for anyone who hasn't watched it, I won't spoil it too much. But I mean, me just saying that probably kind of gives away a little bit as to what happens in the Nürburgring 24, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you make contact with someone. If you're racing with family on the grid, then that's how it's going to go. Vermeulen, though, this is his opportunity to get past Latkovsky. They're side by side. It's Vermeulen in that grey car, the Callaway, on the left-hand side of the screen. Latkovsky is going to lose out in that Mercedes, and so there is the move made for Axel Vermeulen. He is up onto the podium, a little bit of a lock as he twisted his way into La Source, but he now might pick up the slipstream of Luciano Wittfurt, but I think he's still going to have to worry about an attempt from Nikola Latkovsky.
Yeah, because of that battle, Vivek's actually got away a little bit, so that isn't going to help Vermeulen too much, as you said, with the slipstream. So let's see how Latkovsky comes back at him through the Kemmel curve on towards the Kemmel straight. Let's see who's got the better top speed. Is it the Callaway? Is it the Mercedes AMG? We've seen the Mercedes being able to battle the one just ahead of him as we come out into Les Combes once again. Latkovsky having to sit behind for now, trying to get a bit of a run up towards this kink of Malmedy, but not quite close enough just yet. We get yellows once again in Sector 1.
Yes, indeed. The move over in defence. That's very much a proactive move in defence from Vermeulen to kind of see if Latkovsky was going to carry some speed through Malmedy and potentially try and attack. The answer to that question is no. But again, as these battle, the Flying Dutchman of Luciano Wittfert is going to be able to pull away in this little grouping. And so in a sense, the same issue that they had with Pfeiffer is going to happen again, but this time in the form of Luciano Wittfert pulling away from Vermeulen, who obviously racing on home soil here will be a little bit frustrated by that, I'm sure.
Yes, certainly, but that is always just the way racing can go. Sometimes it's difficult to always get the results in the and win all the battles that you want from that, and especially in these more shorter races, there's obviously less time to come back from any potential issues as well. But certainly Vermeulen getting onto the podium is going to be where he wants to be, with just the couple of races left already in this short and sharp 4-round championship. And by the way we've gone through that second sector, I do think he has the tiniest bit of pace on Latkovsky, but it's just the slipstream is going to bring him back as we get through Sector 1 once again.
Well, with 7 minutes and 4 seconds left to go as they cross the line this time by, because Pfeiffer is a decent way clear of this group, and with them running roughly in the, it's close to the 220s, but it is below a 2-minute 20 lap times. Unless something really dramatic happens, we are getting 4 more laps around Spa here in the GT3 Pro race. So yeah, there's plenty of time for you to do something about that, and so it's maybe not trying to rush the move. It's about waiting and allowing things to happen naturally. By the way, obviously we've got 2 retirements from the race in the form of Takazawa and Sokol Vikov. Sven Mackenberg, obviously in the pit lane as well, will potentially be out of this race after that contact, as we head back now to the battle for 8th position, or 7th position really. Makovsky and Cadeau, these two have battled so many times. And then Stretemans is also in 9th place, closing in that AlphaTauri Ferrari. Cadeau's going to try and go around the outside again of Makovsky. We've seen this one a couple of times.
We certainly have. This Les Combes chicane has been such a good place for battles so far. And actually, just behind them, we're getting, who's that? Says Strayman trying to get involved as well. Having to back out of that one, though, unfortunately for him. Is that going to make him open up the door towards Akeem, who's starting to get on the back of this battle as well? But a side-by-side in towards the braking zone of Rivage. Looks like Strayman is going to be able to hold on to that one for now. But certainly, these guys are finding every little apex to dive down on the inside.
Yeah, and if they battle out too hard, then Sebastian Ray will be able to close in, as well as the other McLaren there of Rui Felipe, who's now in 12th position, obviously after clearing some of that. Might have a touch of damage. Although, did Felipe get involved in that rejoin? I think he might have just avoided it.
Oh yes, with Mackenberg, yes, I believe he managed to avoid that one. And I mean, obviously Felipe up into P12, he's going to be happy with that from the back.
There's a recovery, but I think he would still be disappointed realistically. Obviously we're spun around at turn 1 in the opening lap, in the opening corner of the race, so you'd still be frustrated. I think a top 10 is what the goal really is. You've got 3 laps to do it, and you can see it. It's not as if the top 10 is a wild goal that's beyond belief. The top 10 is in this group, so it is there. It is a tangible effort throughout the final 3 laps of this race, and I'm sure that is what the goal will be. Cadeau's been able to pull out a little bit of a gap on Makovsky. Stretemans looking straight down the inside, but then he's got to worry about Akeem going around the outside. Don't switch positions, but they're all showing each other intent.
Akeem slowly worked his way up the field. He's, I think, going to be overall a bit happy with the way that his race has gone so far. Just picking off the positions as they come, and now already towards 4 minutes to go, getting really to the crunch time now. Just a couple of laps for these guys to work it out, as Cadeau is sort of slipstreaming them all the way up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Is there going to be any changes of positions this time? Is anyone going to get a run?
Well, obviously, we're riding on board with Akeem, who is the lone non-European driver left in this race after the retirement from Takezawa. But the Malaysian driver, who Malaysia's actually had in the Asian market of sim racing, the likes of Malaysia and Singapore have had quite a large resurgence in sim racing. I mean, they did have a little bit back in the early 2010s, but courtesy of teams like Axel Sports and such, they've really seen a push forward. Of course, Singapore with Legion of Racers and such, and so we're seeing this Asian market properly joining the ranks here in sim racing. It's not me saying that there wasn't racing there before, because of course there always has been an Asian market for sim racing, but it's just that most of the sim racing world does circulate around particularly Europe, but if not North America, and so it's nice to see that Asian market joining in a little bit with some of the European time slots and showing that sim racing is a global esport.
Absolutely, especially if Akeem is still living in Malaysia. It's obviously, you know, in the middle of the night for him. So to then obviously come on and be there and being competitive is certainly good. And while the time zone may not be ideal, his race so far has been. And as you say, it's good to see obviously the countries more in the eastern part of the world getting involved in sim racing, and that's only going to grow really as the more people see it, more people get involved with it at the high levels, and it's great to see.
Certainly is. Well, Pfeiffer started the penultimate lap of the race, 7.5 seconds clear of Luciano Vitfort. Nikola Latkovsky still on the rear end of Vermeulen. We are looking at the battle for up to 7th place. Godot with Makovsky, Stredemans, and then Akeem, who has to worry about Sebastian Ray, who is right there now. Big kick of oversteer from Georg Ortner out of the bus stop chicane. And remember, they have 2 laps to go. Sebastian Ray instantly on the attack in that McLaren 650. Look to the outside into the source, but again, certainly not going to go for it there because it is too early in the day to try and make that stick in the first corner of the track. You really want to do it going up the hill into Les Combes, looking one way, looking back the other, trying to get Akeem offline through. Oh, he does indeed. That was an awful lot of curb from Akeem.
And that's worked out, I think, in his favour for the distance, because I think he's also got those extra couple of car lengths that he needs to defend from that. And even look at Straitman's ahead of him towards Les Combes. So that is one overtaking opportunity gone for these drivers on the final lap of the race. And it's really starting to get close as Philippe there is already on the back of these guys. Top 10, as you say, still on offer if he can be a bit aggressive.
Well, I hope everyone has accounted for there being an extra lap. We've seen this before time and time again when it comes to racing like this, where it's on a timer and the expectation is that it'll be a certain lap count, say for example in this case 13, and then suddenly, well, Fife has been setting some great pace out front and it becomes a 14 lap race and you think, oh damn, I don't have the fuel to do that. I think we've all been in that boat. Not that I've ever run out of fuel in a race, don't worry, it's never happened, but still, of course it has quite a few times, but Pfeiffer will be he's the one that's in control, so I'm sure he's comfortable, but I would still expect that 1 or 2 drivers on the grid might well be concerningly close. With 30 seconds left to go coming down to the bus stop, this will be the penultimate lap of the race. Max Pfeiffer is about to head onto the final lap here at Spa.
He certainly is, and it's going to be, sort of less than 15 seconds, maybe near 10 seconds by the time he gets to the line. And as you say, that is close enough that some drivers, even 9, so some drivers would have worked it out to be a certain lap count, but as you say, it can always change. We're getting side by side on the exit of the final corner. Latkovsky and Vermeulen. Latkovsky on the outside now as we get towards La Source. Is Vermeulen going to be able to defend on the inside? They're still side by side, but Latkovsky now trying to get a bit of a run out of La Source and down the hill.
Oh, switching one way, switching back the other again, and that mighty Merckx trying to get alongside the Callaway, heading down the hill, back into the slipstream one way. The further they battle, though, Alex Mosen is closing in that, I think it's a fantastic run, 720. Oh my goodness, where have you gone, Axel Vermeulen? I mean, he knows this circuit quite well, courtesy of being a Belgian, but I can tell you for sure that was not the racing line.
Yes, certainly wasn't out on the endurance pit exit, which is not where you want to be, both from a safety point of view, but also just because it's a bit slower as well, and that is going to be difficult for him to come back from as we come through this sector 2 now, because he's got to gain those extra few car lengths to try and get a bit of a run down into the final chicane.
Akeem and Ray also switch going into Les Combes, and Akeem's hanging on for now to the final position inside the top 10 in that Mercedes. He's got 2 McLarens of Ray and Felipe to worry about directly behind, but we'll keep our eye on this battle for the final spot on the podium. The Macedonian driver of Nikola Latkovsky is hanging on to at the moment. Vermeulen and Mosen are close. This could come down to that chicane between really all 3 of these. A bit of a flash of lights there from Vermeulen, just trying to put Nikola Latkovsky off.
Yeah, he was flashing, even just sort of tipping it into the corner as well. So really trying to get every last thousandth he can of the cars ahead, but certainly haven't been able to catch a Pfeffer at the front. But they've had such a good battle behind for the last places on the podium.
Well, Max Pfeiffer's coming up towards the final chicane now. Didn't win at the Nürburgring, and that's exactly what we've seen throughout the day, is that you win at the Nürburgring and then you win here. That's what we've seen in Rookie Cup. That's what we've seen in GT4 Trophy. That is not what we see in the GT3 Pro Series. And for a drive that's been denied at Spa before, Max Pfeiffer wins. Luciano Wittfurt will come across the line in second place, but who's going to join them on the podium? It is indeed going to be Cody Nikola Latkovsky. Super drive, super defence for Vermeulen behind after that costly mistake on the final lap, and Alex Mosen will be in 5th. Balázs Nagy and Makovsky will come across the line fairly close. I'm sure we're going to have a couple of drag races towards the line, because look at all of this. Makovsky has been sent down. Cadeau and Strainemans has come back through. Akeem and Ray are going to be very close as well. Felipe's not going to be able to do it. And look at how close Ray is. He isn't going to get past Akeem and get himself inside the top 10, but super stuff down the order.
Amazing battles, even in the final corner that we've seen all throughout the 30-minute race, all throughout the evening, as you say, with the Rookie Cup and the GT4 trophies. Even side by side in the background, Zaza won the Mackenbergs trying to get across the line. And actually, I think there's a bit of a change of position there. Cloud going down towards 18th at the line.
Big donuts coming from, well, I was going to say it was Luciano Wittfurt, but it actually wasn't. That was the number 1 car, which is Lionel Cadeau, who was going for big donuts at turn 1, because why not? I don't think, the thing is though, is I'm pretty sure the AI takes over across the line, so I'm not even sure that is a drive. But that was how it used to be on RaceRoom. I don't fully remember back these. It has been a while since I've raced on the platform myself. Oh, sorry. I think I should probably put it, it's a long time since I've finished a race on the platform. In fact, the last time I did so, I was battling with Georg Ortner at Spa and Rob Wiesenmüller in some Formula 4 cars, something of that vein. About 3 wide battles all the way over the top of the mountain. There's so much fun that you could have racing on RaceRoom. Pfeiffer, though, finally takes a win here at Spa. Luciano Wittfurt behind in 2nd place, and then Nikola Latkovsky rounding out your podium. Then Vermeulen, Mosen, Nagy, Cadeau, Straitemans, Makovsky and Akeem inside the top 10. So a decent day for Ballas Esports. They're having 2 wins in the previous categories, but not so much in this one. They have to settle with just 2nd for Luciano Wittfurt. Sebastian Ray in 11th position with Rui Felipe, who was sent around turn 1 from inside the top 10. The Georg Ortner working up 3 positions into 13th. Georgiev gets up 7 positions up into 14th place with Bakker, Peter Chak, and then Mackenberg, of course, Cloud Johnny, who retired fairly late. Oh, actually, no, he did manage to cross the line, and Sven Mackenberg able to finish also. A couple of retirements behind this as well, but it's kind of what we'd expect in a dramatic field race. Takazawa and Sokovikov getting involved in that truly awful rejoin.
Yeah, just unfortunate for those guys, really. But obviously that can happen in racing at Spa. We have these corners that are sort of blind on the apex, but yeah, certainly not a nice rejoin that we saw there. However, overall, really nice racing that we saw tonight in all 3 of the categories. I was just pretty impressed, to be honest. We saw so many side-by-side battles, so many guys really diving for it and trying to get the moves. It's really, action-packed, enjoyable racing.
Well, just remember, if you want to take part in the next round of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, you certainly... to qualify for the next round of the championship. But if 2 weeks sounds like it's just too far down the road and you fancy yourself a little bit of light-hearted endurance racing, well, we've got that in store as well, because in 2 days' time we'll be racing around the Nürburgring for the 2.4 hours of the Nürburgring here on RaceRoom. And if you think that sounds very interesting and you want to go and take part, you certainly can, because the leaderboard is open. You can go through the competition system to get yourselves involved in that, qualify your way through, and then you get to potentially race in a race broadcasted by us. But also there are splits as well for those that don't get through into the broadcast race. There's so much happening on RaceRoom. You've got silver and bronze race as well. There's so much up for grabs. But from us here this evening, I think that is going to be a nice and warm goodbye from myself, Lewis McGlade, from Cameron Roger alongside in the commentary booth. Don't worry for anyone who's bored of my voice as well. At Circuit Zandvoort, you will have the return of Ewan O'Leary, who will also join me and Cam in the commentary booth on Friday evening. We hope you've enjoyed the show, but until next time, bye-bye. The outside, the inside of Malmedy. They're so tight once again. It was